to take you now to the Fortnightism pavilion. This is a really interesting pavilion. We know that the pandemic has revealed some inequalities in society, also in architecture. So how can architecture adapt? We have a message that we're going to play for you now from Carson Chan, who's the new director of the Emilio Ambasz Institute at MoMA in New York, and Gustav Düsing. Let's see what they say.
Hi, and welcome to the Responsive Care Center, a mobile quarantine and vaccination unit deployable worldwide through shipping containers. My name is Carson Chan, and I'm an architecture historian and director of the Emilio Ambasz Institute for the joint study of the built and natural environment at MoMA in New York City. With my colleague and friend, architect Gustav Düsing, we designed this place last year in response to the global pandemic, and we're excited to be part of the 2021 Berlin Questions Conference. In March and April of 2020, we saw as cities struggled to convert convention centers and warehouses into field hospitals. It was hard to predict where the next outbreak would occur, which made it difficult for cities to know how to prepare. We thought that since the virus was not fixed in space and time, neither should architecture's response. To counter the virus, architecture needs to behave like the virus. Gustav will speak more about this in a minute, and please watch our video about it to learn more. In many ways, we see this responsive care center as part of a larger spatial, temporal, and social paradigm shift happening around the world. Indeed, the 2-week quarantine, a fortnight, introduces new social category of space and time. Even now, a year after the pandemic began, and with vaccines already in people's arms, the 2-week quarantine persists, especially for international travel. Neither a vacation nor a seamless continuation of daily life, the time spent in quarantine is a combination of work, leisure, and healing. It's a time of self-care and self-awareness. Gustav and I call this new way of understanding how the pandemic has changed our daily habits Fortnightism. It is a paradigm born out of both uncertainty and diligence. Fortnightism built slowness into our lives. We like to say that it's a revolution by deceleration. It is a way of thinking about the world that emphasizes humanity's precarity within the global ecosystem while acknowledging our outsized power in destroying it. For this reason, we see the Responsive Care Center as epitomizing many of the key ideas within Fortnightism. It aims to provide for the healing for our bodies, our community, and our planet.
All right, thanks, Carson. So, when we started designing the Responsive Care Center, we figured out that in order to counter the pandemic, architecture has to be like the virus, meaning that it has to be adaptable, scalable, and resilient. So the Responsive Care Center is basically a tent on top of an infrastructural plinth. The tent can be stored in shipping containers that double as clinics when deployed and can easily be shipped anywhere in the world where people are experiencing an outbreak. The tent consists of spatial layers. Movable antibacterial fabric hang from the top, separating interiors while allowing light to pass through. This creates climatic zones, which also serve as an organizational principle in the reality of isolation and quarantine. These climate zones, starting from the outdoors as a still functioning communal space, towards so-called middoors, large areas with little to no heating or cooling, and then the private units, which are fitted with a built-in shower, toilet, and work area. These private units then meet all standards in terms of comfort. The tent then becomes a kind of large structure that can be set up anywhere in the world at the countryside, so people could go there and spend their 14 days in a quarantine. The principle of the design follows the so-called solitogenic design, a method that is based on health and well-being rather than disease. The tent is fitted with photovoltaic cells that covers large expanses. These create large atrium spaces with open skylights where people could still sit together in a kind of semi-interior that is well ventilated while respecting the social distancing guidelines, but they can still be together in one big open space.